I, 29F, am currently 6 months pregnant with my first child, and honestly, I should be enjoying this time. My husband, Luke, 32M, and I have been trying for years. We went through so much doctors, treatments, disappointments. And now, after finally getting pregnant, I should be thinking about nursery colors and baby kicks. Instead, I'm dealing with Luke's sister, Lila, 34F, and her completely unhinged obsession with our child's name. To be clear, I never liked Lila. She has always been one of those people who thrives on drama. The kind of person who makes everything about her, even when it has absolutely nothing to do with her. Her biggest claim to fame in our family? She had an affair with her ex-husband's brother. Yep, that's the kind of person we're dealing with. And yet, somehow, she still acts like she's the victim in every situation. At first, she seemed excited about my pregnancy. She bought us a few baby gifts early on, kept saying how happy she was to be an aunt. I was skeptical but figured maybe she was just trying to be involved. Then, about 3 months in, she started bringing up baby names. Or rather, one baby name. Joe. Now, I don't have anything against the name itself, but the problem? Joe was her ex, the guy she had an affair with. The guy who dumped her the second it all came to light. The guy whose family completely cut her off. And for some bizarre reason, she has decided that my child, my baby, should be named after him. At first, I thought she was joking. I laughed it off. I told her, yeah, I don't think so. But she kept bringing it up. Again and again. At family dinners, in group chats, even calling Luke randomly just to suggest it. We need to honor Joe, she said at one point. He was such a big part of our lives. No, he was a big part of her life, a part she blew up with her own choices. Luke and I shut it down over and over again, but she just wouldn't let it go. She started getting angry, saying we were being unfair, saying that we owed her this, that we were being selfish. And honestly, that was just the start of things getting weird. I should have known this was going to turn into something worse. I should have realized that Lila was not just being annoying, she was being dangerous. At this point, I was already beyond annoyed. I mean, what kind of person demands someone else name their baby after an ex? But what really got me was how obsessed she was getting. She started sending long texts at random hours. Stuff like, I just really feel like this is the right name. It feels meant to be. Can you at least consider it? Or my personal favorite. Joe was such an important part of my life, and I lost him. This could be my way of keeping his memory alive. Excuse me? Your memory? What does my child have to do with your bad life choices? Luke told her to knock it off, and she pretended to back off. But then she started trying to get to me through other people. She casually mentioned the name to his parents, making it seem like we were considering it. His mom, not knowing any better, called me and said, "Oh, Lila mentioned you two were thinking of naming the baby Joe? That's nice." I nearly screamed. I corrected her immediately, and after that, we both told Lila to stop involving the family. But she wouldn't let it go. Then, she tried a different approach. Instead of suggesting, she started flat out lying. She told people I had come up with the name, that it was my idea, that I was the one who wanted to name my baby Joe, but I was just too shy to admit it. One of Luke's cousins even congratulated me on such a meaningful choice. That's when I snapped. I called her, furious. "What the hell is wrong with you?" She acted shocked. "Oh my God, I was just trying to help. I thought maybe if you saw how good the name sounded to other people, you'd come around." Come around? You're telling people I picked it when I didn't? You're manipulating my pregnancy like some kind of game. She just laughed. You're overreacting. Pregnancy hormones are making you dramatic. I hung up. Luke was livid. He wanted to cut her off entirely. But then, just when I thought I'd seen it all, she did something that crossed the line completely. She decided to punish me for not giving her what she wanted. And she did it in a way that nearly put my baby's life in danger. So, here's where things go from just annoying to outright dangerous. At my last OB appointment, my doctor noticed some concerning signs, some blood pressure issues, a little swelling. Nothing too serious yet, but they wanted to be cautious. So, they prescribed me a medication to help stabilize things. They warned me that taking the wrong dosage could be risky. I was exhausted that day, and Luke was stuck at work. That's when Lila volunteered to pick up my prescription. Now, I hesitated. I knew she was being weird. But she was acting super nice, like she was trying to make up for the baby name drama. She kept saying how badly she wanted to be there for me. And honestly, I was tired. I was trying so hard to give her the benefit of the doubt. Biggest mistake ever. She dropped off the medication that afternoon, all smiles. "I'm really sorry for everything," she said. "I just want us to be close. I want to be the best aunt to your little one." I almost believed her. That night, I took the first dose. Within 20 minutes, I knew something was wrong. My head felt weird, like I was spinning, but I was just sitting on the couch. My heart was racing. I tried to stand up, but my legs felt shaky. Luke had just walked in from work, and as soon as he saw me, he freaked out. "What's wrong?" He rushed over, catching me before I completely collapsed. I couldn't even answer. My vision was blurring. My chest was tight. We went straight to the ER. The next few hours were a nightmare. The doctors ran tests, and when they checked my medication, their faces changed. They asked me twice if I was sure I had taken the right pills. Turns out, Lila didn't just get my prescription wrong, she gave me a stronger version of the medication. One that could have seriously harmed the baby if I had taken more of it. The only reason I was okay was because it was just one pill. If I had taken more over the next few days, it could have caused complications. Or worse. I was shaking with rage and fear. Luke? He was done. We both knew what had happened. Lila didn't, accidentally, mess up. She deliberately swapped my medication as some twisted form of punishment. I barely slept that night. Between the adrenaline, the fear, and the pure rage, my mind wouldn't stop racing. Luke was just as furious. He stayed up researching medication tampering laws, which, by the way, is a serious crime. By morning, we both knew what we had to do. We were going to confront Lila. Luke called her and told her to come over, saying we needed to talk. She must have thought we were ready to apologize or something because she showed up way too happy for someone who had nearly poisoned me the night before. The second she walked in, Luke didn't waste time. "What the hell did you do?" His voice was ice cold. She blinked, all fake innocence. "What are you talking about?" I grabbed the prescription bottle and shoved it toward her. "You gave me the wrong medication. I ended up in the ER last night. Now, here's the part that still makes my blood boil." She laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an embarrassed, guilty laugh. A smug, almost amused laugh. "Oh my God, you're being so dramatic," she said, rolling her eyes. "It was just a stronger dose. If anything, it should have helped you more." I swear, I almost threw something at her. Luke, though? I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looked at her in that moment. Pure disgust. "You switched it on purpose," he said, voice low and dangerous. "You wanted to punish us because we wouldn't name our baby after Joe." She scoffed. "That's insane. I did not switch anything. I was just trying to help." I shook my head, still struggling to process how casual she was being about this. "Do you even understand what you did? That could have hurt me. It could have hurt the baby." Her smirk finally faltered. And then, for the first time, she looked scared. Because Luke pulled out his phone. "We're reporting this to the police." The second Luke said the word police, Lila's whole attitude changed. She went from smug to panicked in seconds. "Wait, what? You're not serious." Luke didn't even blink. "Dead serious." That's when she started backpedaling. "Oh my God, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I wasn't thinking. It was a mistake. I swear I didn't do anything on purpose." I crossed my arms. "So now it's a mistake? A minute ago, you were laughing and saying I was being dramatic." She turned to Luke, trying to do that pathetic little sister act she always pulled when she wanted to get out of trouble. "Luke, come on. You know me. I would never actually." But Luke cut her off. "I don't know you at all, apparently." His voice was like stone. "Because the person I grew up with? She wouldn't do something this disgusting." That shut her up. She knew she had messed up. She knew there was no wiggling out of this one. Then came the fake tears. Please, she sobbed. Please don't do this. It'll ruin my life. You're really going to get me arrested over a stupid mistake. I was so done with her. You could have ruined my life, I snapped. You could have hurt my baby. And now you want sympathy? She dropped to the couch, shaking her head. I wasn't thinking. I was mad. I wanted to prove a point. But I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just stared at her. You wanted to prove a point? With my pregnancy. She looked away. Couldn't even answer. Luke exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples like he was trying to keep himself from completely losing it. Then, without another word, he pulled out his phone and started dialing. Lila's eyes widened. No, wait. Please. She lunged at him, grabbing his arm. Please don't call the cops. I swear, I'll fix this. I'll do anything. Just don't do this. He yanked his arm away. You don't get to beg for mercy now. And then, as calmly as anything, he called the police. Lila completely lost it the second Luke started talking to the dispatcher. She jumped up, hands shaking, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Oh my God, you're really doing this, she muttered. You're actually calling the cops on your own sister? Luke didn't even look at her. He gave them our address and calmly explained the situation. I swear, Lila looked like she was about to faint. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching her unravel. When he hung up, she turned to me like I was the problem. Please, she begged. You can't let them arrest me. This will ruin my life. My job, my future, please, just say it was an accident. I laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, now it's an accident? That's funny, because before, you were laughing in my face about it. Her face crumpled, and I swear, for a split second, I saw real fear. Not guilt, just fear of consequences. Luke sat down, rubbing his face like he was exhausted. Lila, you did this to yourself. If we let this slide, what's next? You put something in our kid's bottle if we don't raise him how you want. I would never, she shrieked. I snapped. Oh, you mean like how you'd never tamper with my medication? Because that already happened. Before she could say anything else, we heard the sound of car doors outside. The cops were here. Lila turned pale. No. Please, just tell them it was a mistake. Please don't do this. She actually tried to run toward the door like she could just leave. Luke stepped in front of her. Sit down. I have never seen him like that before. His voice was ice. Authoritative. Final. And for the first time, Lila actually listened. She sank onto the couch, hands gripping her knees, hyperventilating. Then came the knock on the door. I opened it, and there they were, 2 officers, serious expressions, ready to handle business. This is about a report of medication tampering, one of them asked. I nodded. Yes, and the person responsible is sitting right over there. Lila let out a choked sob as the cops stepped inside. Lila looked terrified as the officers approached. She kept shaking her head like she could somehow make this not happen. Ma'am, one of the cops said, we need you to come with us and answer some questions. She bolted off the couch. No, this is a huge misunderstanding. I didn't do anything criminal. It was just a mix-up. The officer glanced at me. You're the victim? I nodded. Yes. She gave me a stronger prescription than what my doctor actually prescribed. I ended up in the ER because of it. One of the cops turned back to Lila. Did you pick up her medication? Lila's mouth opened, then shut. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out how to lie her way out. Yes, she admitted. But I didn't mean to. It was an accident. Luke scoffed. You literally told us you were just trying to prove a point. The second he said that, the officer's expression changed. Like that was all they needed. The other officer took out a notepad. Ma'am, do you understand that tampering with someone's prescribed medication is a serious offense? Lila's breathing went shaky. But I didn't mean to. I thought I was helping. The cops were done with her excuses. We're going to need you to come with us, one said. At this point, we're looking at reckless endangerment, possibly medication fraud. If the DA decides to push further, there could be more charges. That's when Lila completely lost it. No, 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 no. Luke, please. She turned to him, full on sobbing. You're my brother. You're really letting them do this to me. Luke just shook his head. You did this to yourself. Then, before I could even react, she lunged at me. You're ruining my life, she shrieked. The officers grabbed her instantly. One of them twisted her arms behind her back as she kicked and screamed. Let me go. She's lying. She just wants to punish me. I took a step back, completely shaken. One of the officers turned to me. Do you want to press full charges? And in that moment, watching her fight and cry and act like she was the victim, I felt zero sympathy. I straightened my shoulders. Yes. I want to press full charges. Lila screamed when I said it. You can't do this. Please. I'm your family. The cops ignored her. One of them started reading her rights while the other secured her hands behind her back. Luke just stood there, silent, watching his sister self-destruct. She thrashed, but it was useless. Please, Luke. Please don't let her do this. Luke exhaled, his hands clenched into fists. I warned you, Lila. You didn't listen. The officer holding her sighed. Ma'am, stop resisting. This won't help you. She finally went limp. Not because she accepted responsibility, oh no. It was because she knew she had officially lost. They walked her out, and I stood by the window, watching as they put her into the squad car. I don't know what I expected to feel. Guilt? Sadness? Relief? But all I felt was exhaustion. Luke sat down on the couch, rubbing his face. I can't believe it actually came to this. I sat next to him. Are you okay? He let out a bitter laugh. No, but she crossed a line. There's no coming back from this. And we both knew it was true. But the real fallout? That didn't start until a few hours later, when the family found out. It started with a phone call from Luke's mom. I barely had time to process everything before his phone exploded with notifications. Missed calls, texts, voicemails, mostly from his parents and a few other relatives. He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Here we go. He answered. The second he put the phone to his ear, I could hear his mom shrieking through the speaker. Luke, what did you do? He held the phone away from his ear, looking completely done. Mom, calm down. Calm down. Your sister just called us from jail. She said you had her arrested. Luke's jaw tightened. She wasn't arrested for no reason, Mom. She tampered with a pregnant woman's medication. She could have hurt the baby. Silence. Then, she scoffed. Oh, come on. It was a mistake. Do you really think Lila would intentionally hurt anyone? I actually laughed. She literally admitted she did it to prove a point. Luke's mom ignored me completely. She's your sister, Luke. You really want her to have a criminal record over this. She did that to herself, he said coldly. That's when she switched tactics. You know she's struggling right now, she said, voice suddenly softer, like she was about to cry. You know how much she's been through. How hard things have been for her. She's family. You can't just throw her away like this. Luke stiffened. She threw herself away, he said. That shut her up for a second. Then, because of course she did, she turned on me. This is her fault, isn't it? She snapped. She's the one pushing for this. If it were just you, you'd never let this happen. You'd protect your sister. Luke immediately shut that down. This was my decision, he said. And if you keep blaming my wife for what Lila did to herself, then I don't think we have anything else to talk about. Silence. Then, she sniffed. I just hope you can live with yourself. And she hung up. Luke exhaled and tossed his phone on the table. Well, that went about how I expected. I sighed. She's never going to see Lila as anything but the victim, is she? Nope. And sure enough, the rest of the family started pouring in with their opinions. Some were outraged, saying we were overreacting and should just let it go. Some were neutral, saying it was a messed up situation, but that they hoped we could fix things. And a few, just a few, actually took our side. But the worst? Lila's dad. Because he decided to take it a step further. He decided to show up at our house. IT was late. Luke and I had just finished dinner, still processing the absolute disaster of the day. My phone was blowing up with messages from relatives, and Luke had already put his on silent. We were exhausted, physically, mentally, emotionally. Then came the knock. Not a normal knock. Loud. Aggressive. The kind that makes your stomach drop. Luke's eyes met mine. That better not be who I think it is. I got up, peeked through the peephole, and sure enough, there he was. Lila's dad. I sighed. It's him. Luke clenched his jaw. Great. I opened the door just a crack. What do you want? Lila's dad pushed the door open the rest of the way and stepped inside, eyes blazing. Oh! So that's how it's gonna be? Luke stood up instantly. You don't just barge into my house. He ignored him. What the hell is wrong with you two? He spat. You had Lila arrested? Luke crossed his arms. She tampered with a pregnant woman's medication. That's a crime. She made a mistake. His dad's face was red. You really think she deserves jail for this? Jail, Luke. I finally snapped. If I had taken more of that medication, I could have lost the baby. Do you even care about that? His dad turned to me with pure disgust. Oh, I know exactly what this is. You just want her out of the picture. You never liked her. You wanted an excuse to cut her off. I laughed. She gave me the perfect excuse then. Luke stepped forward, done with this conversation. You need to leave. His dad didn't move. You're really going to do this? To your own sister. She did this to herself. She's your family. Luke's voice dropped to a low, dangerous tone. I have a family now. My wife. My child. That's who I'm protecting. For a moment, his dad just stared at him, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Then, shaking his head, he took a step back. You're making a mistake, son. Luke didn't even blink. No, she did. His dad turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I exhaled. Well, that went well. Luke sat back down, rubbing his face. We're never going to hear the end of this. And he was right. Because less than an hour later, Lila's mugshot hit the internet. I wasn't expecting it. Honestly, I thought we'd have a few days of family drama before things really blew up. But nope. The internet works fast, and by the time I was brushing my teeth for bed, my phone was blowing up again. A text from Luke's cousin. OMG. Lila's mugshot is online. Have you seen this? I nearly dropped my phone. I clicked the link. And there it was. Lila, looking like a complete mess, mascara smudged, red-eyed, her hair everywhere, staring at the camera like she was still processing the fact that she'd actually been arrested. And the headline? Local woman arrested for allegedly tampering with pregnant sister-in-law's medication. Oh, my God. Luke was already in bed when I turned the phone toward him. You need to see this. He frowned, took the phone, and the second he saw it, he let out the most exhausted sigh I'd ever heard. Well, that escalated quickly. And it didn't stop there. By morning, half the family had seen it. The group chat was on fire. Luke's mom was hysterical. How could you let it go this far? She's being humiliated. You could have handled this privately. Oh, so now she cared about how things were handled? Where was this energy when her daughter was playing pharmacist with my pregnancy? Lila's friends started commenting on the article, saying things like, "This is totally out of context. She would never hurt anyone. People are just trying to ruin her life over a mistake. This family is full of backstabbers." And then came the DMs. I had random strangers messaging me, some telling me I did the right thing, others saying I was a vindictive B** for having her arrested. Oh, but I thought it was just a mistake, right? So why are y'all acting like she's the victim here? Luke had to call his boss and explain what was happening before someone at work brought it up first. Even my own family was hearing about it now, thanks to the magic of Facebook drama. And Lila? Oh, she was still in jail. But not for long. Because by the afternoon, we got word she was making bail. And something told me this wasn't over. By midday, the news hit. Lila made bail. Luke's mom paid it. Of course, she did. I wasn't even surprised. What had surprised me was how quiet everything got. After the morning explosion of texts, calls, and drama, the group chat went silent. No updates. No calls. I knew what that meant. They were circling the wagons, figuring out how to spin this, how to protect Lila's reputation. Luke sat across from me at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone, looking tense. She's going to try to talk to us. I nodded. Obviously. And sure enough, not even an hour later, I got a text. Lila, can we talk? Please? Just us? I just stared at my phone. Luke leaned over. What are you gonna say? I exhaled. Nothing. She can talk to my lawyer. And I meant it. I was done with her manipulations, her lies, her excuses. She didn't get to risk my baby's health and then come crying when she had to face the consequences. So I blocked her number. 5 minutes later, Luke's phone rang. He let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. And again. He finally picked up. Lila. No. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could hear her crying. Luke sighed. You need to get a lawyer. This isn't something we're just talking out. More crying. Then, he tensed. No, you're not coming over. I sat up. She wants to come here? He nodded, eyes narrowing. Lila, I swear to God, if you show up at my house, I will call the cops again. And that's when she lost it. She started screaming over the phone, something about how we were ruining her life, how she just wanted to fix things, how I was turning Luke against her. He just hung up. We sat in silence for a moment. She's not done, I said. Luke rubbed his temples. No, she's not. And sure enough, by that night, we had another problem. Because guess who showed up at my doctor's office? I was half asleep when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my doctor's office. We need to discuss a concerning situation. Please call us as soon as possible. Instant panic. I called immediately. My doctor's assistant picked up, sounding serious. I just wanted to confirm something with you. Did you recently request a change to your prescription? My stomach dropped. No, I said slowly. Why? She hesitated. Someone claiming to be your sister-in-law called and tried to modify your prescription. She said you needed a higher dosage. My hands started shaking. I could barely get the words out. Did you change anything? No, she assured me. It seemed suspicious, so we checked your file. That's when we saw the ER report and realized something was off. We wanted to make sure you were aware of this. I couldn't even breathe. Lila actually tried to tamper with my medication again, even after getting arrested for it the first time. Luke was standing by the bed, watching me. What's wrong? I put the phone on speaker so he could hear. When the assistant explained, I saw pure fury flash across his face. She's out of her mind, he muttered. She's actually out of her mind. I clenched my fists. Did you report this? The assistant hesitated. Not yet, but we will if you'd like us to. Oh, we would definitely like you to. I hung up and turned to Luke. She's escalating. He nodded, jaw tight. She's desperate. And then, before we could even process what just happened, Luke's phone buzzed with another message. From his mom. I think we need to talk before this gets any worse. Luke stared at the message for a long moment. Then, without a word, he tossed his phone onto the couch like he couldn't even be bothered. I raised an eyebrow. You're not answering? He exhaled sharply. Nope. I picked up his phone and read the message again. You know she's going to keep pushing, right? Oh, I know. He rubbed his temples. She thinks she can still fix this. That if she guilt-trips me enough, I'll magically forgive Lila. I scoffed. Yeah, because nothing says forgivable like trying to drug a pregnant woman twice. Luke smirked a little at that, but then his face hardened. She's going to show up, isn't she? 100%. And like clockwork, an hour later, there was a knock on our door. Luke let out a long, slow breath. Here we go. He opened it, and there she was. His mother. She stepped inside before we could even tell her no, her eyes already red and puffy like she'd been crying. Luke, she said softly, like she was the victim. We need to talk. He crossed his arms. Make it quick. She sighed, looking between the two of us. Lila is a mess. She hasn't stopped crying since she got out. She's scared. She's overwhelmed. She knows she made a mistake. I rolled my eyes. Oh, now she knows? His mom ignored me. Luke, she's your sister. Are you really going to let this go to trial? Are you really going to let her go to prison? Luke didn't even blink. She tampered with my wife's medication. Twice. She deserves whatever happens. His mother winced at that. Luke, come on. Do you really think that's what's best for this family? He stared at her. My family? You mean me, my wife, and my child? Yeah, I do. Her face hardened. So that's it? You're willing to throw your sister away over this? She threw herself away. She let out a shaky breath. Then I need to be honest with you. She straightened her shoulders, suddenly looking way too calm. If you go through with pressing charges, she said, then I want you to know, we won't forgive you for it. Silence. Luke stared at her. You're giving me an ultimatum? She nodded, dead serious. Yes. If you send Lila to prison, you're cutting yourself out of this family. I expected him to hesitate, to think it over. But he didn't even flinch. Then I guess we're done. Luke's mom froze. Like she actually thought her little ultimatum was going to work. What? She whispered. Luke shrugged. You heard me. If keeping my family safe means cutting you off, then so be it. I crossed my arms. You really thought you could manipulate him, huh? She turned to me, eyes burning. You did this. Luke laughed. Oh no. Lila did this. You're just too deep in denial to see it. She shook her head, stunned. So that's it? You're choosing her over us. I'm choosing my wife and child over a woman who tried to poison them, Luke said flatly. And if you're siding with Lila, that tells me exactly where your priorities are. His mom's face twisted. You'll regret this. No, he said. But you might. Then, without another word, he walked to the door, opened it, and gestured for her to leave. She looked at him one last time, like she was waiting for him to change his mind. But he didn't. So, with a final scoff, she stormed out. Luke shut the door behind her, locked it, and exhaled. Well, that's over. I sat down, feeling numb. Do you think they'll actually go through with it? Cutting us off? He shrugged. Maybe. But honestly? Good. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of peace. Lila was facing the consequences of her actions. Luke and I were standing firm. And while I knew there'd be more drama to come, more fallout, more angry messages, I also knew one thing for certain. Lila would never have control over my life again. And that was worth everything.